All right, so welcome back, everybody, to Move or Lose, so where action meets ambition. Today, I have the privilege of being here with Kimberly Farr, a great friend of mine. I'm excited to see the movements that she's been taking over the last several years and what the future is to come. But Kimberly is a dedicated professional and community leader for Trustful. Kimberly serves as the Human Resources Director at SPOC Automation, a company known for its innovation automation solutions. Beyond her professional role, she's a loving wife and a mother of two, and she has recently announced her candidacy for Trussville City Council. So anyway, I'm excited to dive into your journey and learn more. How are you today?
I am great for a Monday morning. How are you?
I'm good. Same.
Good, good. It's taking me a little extra coffee, just so you know, I'll be
Right.
sipping on this.
No, you're totally fine. Go for it. I know you're probably a little bit nervous on this podcast. This is the second one I think you've done, and thankfully it's somebody that you know. But anyway, as I mentioned kind of before we jumped on, really the whole premise behind our concept of this podcast is to try to inspire people, give them some nuggets of information if they're trying to evolve in their careers or start something new, how to step out. I know you've taken some big steps really over the last few years and probably didn't anticipate what you're doing now. So anyway, let's start with your professional journey. So, all right, if you will, kind of share a little bit more about where you are now at SPOC, but kind of what led into that position, because I know that's not really where you started at SPOC. So go back far back as you want to from educational background, or if you just want to stay on SPOC, that's fine too.
Sure. Well, educational background's really funny because my degree's in biology. I thought that I was going to go down that medical path, and then organic chemistry really told me you don't have a chance. But it's funny. I have worked in sales roles. I've worked in every facet of sales that you could imagine. And before I came to Spock, I was with a company that did recruitment, and I was a sales manager for them. So I did some recruiting for them first, and was promoted into a sales role. And Spock was one of my customers.
Gotcha.
So I actually came to sell Spock. I met Bobby, I met Ted, and Bobby Mason is our CEO, and Ted Wilkie is our president, and both are the most driven human beings I've ever met, but also the most hilarious human beings I've ever met. So when I came to sell to them, I can just say,
Yeah.
I don't think that you could ever imagine, but it was quite interesting. And by that, I mean, if they like you, they're picking on you. So
100%.
it was actually quite the relief to have that experience with them. And then one day I got a call from Bobby, and he was talking to me about a position that he had open, and I'm thinking he's calling in a requisition. I'm like, yeah, we'll fill it for you. And pretty much he was like, no. I don't think you understand. We'd like for you to fill it. Like,
Yeah.
we'd like for you to come work for
You to
Spock.
fill it.
I was like, oh, that one, it's incredibly flattering. And two, I was like, oh, yeah, they are incredible people. They have a company that I would totally love to work for. I don't have a clue what they do,
Mhm.
but yes, I'm in. So I actually started here in April of 2013.
Mhm.
Came in as the sales manager for Well Optics. Well, at the time it was Well Insight, but we changed the name to Well Optics, which is now SPOC SCADA. So that's supervisory control and data acquisition. Really a fancy way of saying you've got 24/7, 365 days a year access to anything with controls on it.
Yeah.
You're monitoring your equipment, so it's surveillance, it's controls, it's all of that. So I stayed in that role for several years. We made it through COVID. I grew up here, so I've gotten married while I've been here to my lovely husband Brian, who you know. I've had both my kids while I'm here, and we, as a company, not only personally have I evolved, but we as a company have evolved
Yeah.
in some major ways.
Major ways. Yeah.
And I believe when I came here, I was maybe employee number 60,
Hmm.
something like that. Maybe that might be a little high. And then in 2022, when we were all returning back to work, we realized that we were about to, it was before that, it was probably 2021,
Mhm.
we started growing.
Yeah.
We started growing very rapidly. And we started our Spot Grid company. So we knew that it was coming. And what we realized is if it was coming, if the business was coming, then we needed people. And so I actually spent all that time before in recruitment. I've done onboarding. I've done all the things in
Yeah.
HR,
Yeah.
what I thought HR was. And so I actually went to Bobby and said, hey, I think that we we may need somebody in this role. And I'm feeling kind of driven. I'm feeling kind of drawn to doing it. I don't know why, but I feel like I need to go down this path. And part of him wanted to say no. And then part of him was like, well, she's kind of doing a lot of the recruitment for us anyway. And then I think that our former CFO had a lot to do with it. He had a conversation with that executive team and said, hey, I think that she'd be the best fit for this position.
Mhm.
So I started off in that HR management role where I was doing all the recruitment. I was doing all the onboarding. We were going. We were going and going and going. We grew. We doubled in size. And then we're even larger than we were even then. But I've moved into now a HR director role, which you've mentioned before.
Mhm.
And so I'm more responsible for the strategic hiring and the development and making sure that all of our employees continue in their development process. I think that what our focus is, and what Bobby Mason will say is that our focus is on our people. And so I like to say that I'm a champion for Lift Up. As you can see behind me, Lift Up is our mantra. It's our everyday who we are, what we do, how we make this place keep
Yeah, your
going.
ethos. You're basically your ethos. Yeah.
Our ethos. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's awesome.
So Lift Up, we live by these core values, our core values being committed, caring, passionate, gratifying, and solutions focused.
Mhm.
I heard you mention that SPOC is an innovation company. It is. Most people will be like, oh, it's a manufacturing company. They manufacture these big white boxes and we don't really know what they do. But really, truly, we're an innovation company. We've done some stuff that is state of the art, above and beyond. And it's been stuff that makes us good stewards of energy. And it's very, very impressive, especially to be known nationwide, even worldwide. And we're in I say little bitty, we're not that little anymore.
Yeah. Trust me, bro.
Trussville, Alabama.
Yeah.
So that's kind of me in a nutshell in my business world. So that's how that journey kind of went.
No, that's awesome. My follow up question really was kind of how you feel like SPOC's culture aligns with your own values, and obviously you've helped morph it, so it's probably easy to explain. It don't have to be a perfect answer, but just as you're kind of thinking through again the ethos, like how do you feel like it really aligns with you personally? Because I know you're probably over 200. You're over 200 employees now.
We're right around close to 200. We're not at 200 now.
Gotcha.
There was a growth mode, and then we kind of slowed down a little bit. We will be over 200 this year.
Yeah. No, that's it's hard enough to even fathom that type of growth trajectory. But then the measures that y'all take to connect with every employee that comes in to understand their lifestyles, what drives them, to be able to connect with them on those types of levels and to be intentional about it. I know y'all are known for your culture and you're pushing to get more even nationally and internationally known on your culture. I know that's Bobby's his own personal mission along with yours as to how to instill this type of movement with other companies. So it's exciting along across the board. But anyway, as you think through kind of that, like I said, the core values, the ethos, like how do you feel like it aligns with you personally? And yeah, how do you connect with them?
Sure. So Lift Up, being our culture in itself, has several different parts. So it starts off with Lift Up Yourself. Lift up yourself means that you're obviously doing everything to better yourself. And that's something that SPOC wants you to do. They want you to better yourself. They want to make sure that you're developing in a way that you can be successful here. And who knows, your path may lead you elsewhere, but you can take what you learned from SPOC and you can take the development that you received from SPOC and you can prosper elsewhere. So it's not just keeping you here. We want you to stay here.
Yeah.
But if you're led to go somewhere else, we want it to be beneficial to you. We want your time here to be a benefit to you, something that you remember forever. So Lift Up Yourself leads into lifting up your team. Obviously, if you want to succeed, we're all hopefully rowing in the same direction. You're lifting each other up to make sure that the person beside you is doing just as well as you are. And I think that speaks wonders to my life as well, because my husband and I have both gone back and forth with what we're doing in our careers. And we want what's best for our family. But two, we want each other to be successful because it does benefit us. It does show that we're rowing in the same direction. And that's how that kind of correlates back to my life and how I kind of lead the same lifestyle as Lift Up. But then there's Lift Up Your Company. So everybody has the same goal in mind. We're rowing in the same direction. We've got, we're all on the same page. That is the hope. That is the dream. Is there going to be a hiccup here and there? Probably, but nothing that we can't work out. Nothing that we can't use that communication method to continue to get along, to have the same goals in mind, and to make sure that we're getting there together. We're going there in the same direction.
Right. Yeah. And people say that. Companies will say that everybody's rowing in the right direction, but at the same time, they're admin and they're just telling people where to go versus like just collectively, doing it together. So y'all practice what you preach.
I was going to say it's funny because there have been moments that we are like, we're not communicating. The message is different or the definition is different. We're not understanding in the same way. And that's very, very important. So what we actually did recently is that we actually started what we call the M3 group, and that's our middle management group. We have a meeting once a month, now twice a month, where it's not the heads of the department. So we're not looking at the executive team who has so much on their plates that, some of this stuff kind of falls to the wayside. We want to alleviate some of those pressures off of them. And so we have actually, as a group, gotten the, heads of these different sections. So managers within engineering, managers within HR, managers within each department. And we get together, we work on, making sure that we're communicating some issues that might be affecting multiple departments. We have found huge success in that and making sure that everybody falls on the same page. So it's been very, very successful. Even the executive team has been, they may have been a little skeptical at first about what that particular, that's a very expensive meeting if you look at who all's involved in it.
Sure.
But
yeah,
we've found some great success in leading into creating some processes that eliminate issues.
Right. And to have the hard conversations of like, you're not telling me everything that's going on. We need the communication to be a lot stronger if you want to stay on this boat with us. So, which is nice. I love the fact that it's like, we're all rowing together. We're trying to support each other, but like we've all got to commit to it. And if for some reason you no longer can commit to it, it's like some say, it's like either get on the train or get off.
Trying to get off.
Yeah.
But that's what leads into lift up your customers and then lift up the world. So if we're doing it all right inside, everything else outside falls into place.
It makes so much sense. We could probably do another episode if you wanted to one day on just kind of cultural development because trying to be this for other entrepreneurs and business owners, in addition to other ones that are climbing into heavier roles and positions, side careers, or even side ventures. So with that being said, City Council, where did that come from?
Really good question. Really good question. So right now, I'm part of the Industrial Development Authority here in Trussville, which is our industrial development board. And then I'm also the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I've been involved. I started volunteering. One, it helped us get to know people within the community and companies within the community. And I just started to feel that drive, that need to be involved and see how the city's evolving, honestly. And I was like, you know what?
Crazy.
This is a growing city. I know why I moved here, and I want to be a part of keeping that growth going in a positive direction. But it's got to be done very, very responsibly. And I know what we do internally here at SPOC. I don't know if you've ever heard of the execution maximizer.
Briefly, but no, I don't know the depth of it.
So to give you a 10,000 foot view of what the execution maximizer is, you have to have a vision.
Right.
One, your vision, you need to have, if it's a vision that you could see fulfilling, similar to us being $1 billion company here in the next few years, if it's a true vision that you want to fulfill, you'll come up with a strategic plan to make sure that you're successful with that. And with that comes a play to win strategy. That play to win strategy kind of breaks it down into, okay, this is my ultimate goal. Here's the next 10 years. Here's the next 5 years. Here's the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Here's the next year.
Next year.
And it breaks it down so that what Bobby likes to say is it's eating the elephant one bite at a time. That provides you with the structure that you need to be successful in accomplishing goals, KPIs, key performance metrics. Okay. You could use those KPIs. You could create KPIs for the year and just make sure that you're being successful or actually making some progress within those so that you can reach that goal ultimately. Look, not everybody loves growth, okay?
That's true. Especially smaller towns. Especially smaller
Yeah,
towns.
especially
Yeah.
small towns. But we are no longer a small town. I mean, we have a
Right.
population of almost 30,000
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, we base our success, I guess, really, if you look at it, um, Trustful relies on 70% sales tax for their general fund, about 70%. Well, a lot of people are shopping online, and that includes Amazon, that includes groceries. I'm guilty of it myself, but we're not shopping as locally as we should be. But that's where I get into we need to be bringing some high tiered companies here,
Mm-hmm.
some corporate offices here, some boutique style businesses, some high end restaurants. But the way that you're going to be successful doing that is if you have a plan, and you have to be really responsible stewards of the finances.
Right. Yeah.
I just want to be a part of that. I want to partner with whoever comes in as the mayor
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that I'm doing my part. One, to hear what the citizens have to say, but two, to relay those messages and really take all of that into account when making decisions for the city. That is my goal. And that's what I do here at SPOC. I take what the employees are saying and what their needs are based on the vision of the company and what we have, our strategic plan for the next few years. And I have to embody all of that. And I have to be able to, one, take care of the company as a whole. Here's what I've realized just in my recent um, being a part of this just very, very recently, because we started campaigning so early, was people don't like to hear negative news, but they also expect you to be very, very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with transparency, but the facts need to come before the ask.
Sure.
So, for instance, right now we are dealing with the city of Trustful possibly charging the residents for garbage pickup, which is not necessarily unlike any other city. There's several cities that obviously include that in their budget, but right now it is something that we're considering. And I do think that our current council and mayor have done a tremendous job of being transparent and making sure that people know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Are there different avenues that we can take? What other avenues can we take to make sure that the message is out there before the ask? And that's something that I want to make sure is very, very clear, is that we are being transparent, that we are giving all the facts, and that we are trying to make sure that everybody gets the news, right? Gets
Yeah.
all the information beforehand.
Right.
Because what we found was at the city council meeting that we went to, a lot of people were shocked. And granted, I wasn't, but I've been digging for the information. I've been on the council page. I've been making sure that I stay in touch and involved. But not everybody gets to do that. So we need to make sure that the transparency is there. But again, it really comes down to just making sure that we're doing all of this as a goal to make the city as a whole better. And that's, again, where I was getting back to SPOC. I have to make sure that I'm making decisions that's best for the entire company. And yes, you're going to have a few one-offs that are not very pleased with the decision that you have to make.
Sure.
But at the end of it, it hopefully will be rewarding to see the fruits of our labor and why we've actually done what we've done. So I think it goes hand in hand with the city as well.
No, 100%. I think what people have to really remember is that where you live, work, and play is Trustful. When we're down there, when it's it's a few minutes from us, and when we're down there, we see y'all all the time, out and about. Even if we don't try, we just see y'all. What just
I was like, look at there, there's
Yeah.
Melissa.
and so which is perfect. And then obviously Spock is right there, smack in the middle of Trustful, and then you only live not too far from there, not to give. But so with that being said, it's like you bleed this place, like you live it, your heart's in it, and the fact that you already think on such a larger scale of capacity for when it comes to people and the lives of people. Anyway, the fact that you deal with people's lives and their money and their income, and you get to see what it's like for the ones that actually live also in Trustful nearby that work, for and with you. I don't know. It's just, I think that's a pretty unique situation for somebody wanting to step into city council. And you're already involved. It's why you want to know what's going on. And transparency, I think, is huge, to your point. And again, we were talking about before we started this thing, we are living more and more in a world of people that desire authenticity and transparency. And it's like we become kind of not really sickened, but we've kind of come to a little bit just turned off by people who are trying to put on a front.
Yeah.
And anybody that knows you is, what you see is what you get with you.
Very, very
Which is
true.
all a
I
great
hope
thing.
that is a positive.
We'll look for Brian's comments later below.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Well, okay, so when you made this decision, because I asked Bobby about it too, and I was like, what are your thoughts? And he was like, it's going to be a big commitment, but I'm definitely behind her. What has been kind of the reaction of your support system there, and then obviously family, since you've made the decision to try to push for it?
Yeah. So this conversation's been going on for a while. I'll just let you know that not one that I took lightly, and any decision that I make involves my family. Starting off with Brian,
Right.
we've had the conversation. Part of him was like, absolutely not. No way, don't do it. I mean, that was in the initial conversations. That was very, very early on. And then, I kind of got my parents involved in the conversation, and I think that they were like, well, we're here. They're in Springville, so they're nearby.
That's close.
We're
Yeah.
here. We can help.
Right.
We we know you're a leader. We know that you have a servant's heart. We know that that's what you're driven to do. And Brian said the same thing. I mean, I can't say, he doesn't want me to do it or he didn't want me to do it. He just automatically, in any extra that we take on, he's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, I had to think about a lot of things. I mean, obviously, I have small children,
Mm-hmm.
but I think at the end of the day, we moved to Trussville once we realized, my goodness, we're having a kid. And we had Cecilia, and we were like, we need to make sure that we're in an area with a really good school system. And I'd like to really be closer to my parents. And thank God Trustful had that. Trustful it checked off every box that we asked for. Does it have entertainment? Yes. Does it have, wait, let's start over. Is it where I work? Yes. Close to family? Yes. Is it an environment that we want to raise our children in the school system? Yes. Can I live, work, and play there? Yes, because we still want to have that kind of interaction with friends and family where we don't have to go far away from home, spend our money. Why not do it here? Where it actually benefits us in the end. So, we started having this conversation when we moved here, and I didn't expect to get as involved as I did right off the bat, but once I was in it, I was like, God, city's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is. I mean, we always, I lived in a town close by here, and Trussville was like going to the city,
Mm-hmm.
but just to watch how it's evolved into what it's evolved into. I mean, it is a very unique city. Still has that small town feel. Everybody knows everybody, and you see each other at the Gateway Entertainment District, and you run into friends all the time, and it's really cool. It's just very unique. You don't get that everywhere.
That's true. That's true.
And I was like, I have to see this continue. I have to continue to see this go forward, because if you're not growing, you're dying. Everybody says it, and it's true.
It
There's
is
a lot
true.
of truth to it.
Right.
But to see my children, and I know they're young, and my daughter's just now in the school system, but I want to ride this out while she and Liam are in the school system and have a bit of say in that, say of what we're doing in the city, so that they can continue to be proud, that they can continue to receive the excellent education that I expected them to get. So that there is public safety that is state of the art, that you are none, that this place is safe and they are going to arrive when you need them.
Mm-hmm.
I see so much benefit to living here that I want to be a part of its success.
Right.
And that is it.
Yeah.
And I want to do what's best for the city. And I think you mentioned earlier, I'm very transparent, and what you see is what you get. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I take what everybody is telling me and asking me, and making sure that if I don't have the answer, I find the answer. If I need to make decisions, that we're doing it for the betterment of the entire community, period. Bar none.
Bar none.
Hands down.
You're going to fight for it. And it's like, you already fight for yourself, but I know how earrings come off when it comes for others. No, I love it. I'm excited to hear so much about it. And we're so driven to it. We moved off to Nashville for a few years and then came back with Home Fit. and real estate.
We were so glad you came back too, by the
Well,
way.
it genuinely was like coming back home. It was a little tough for Melissa because we got settled in up there, and it was a hard decision for us to make just because Home Fit was headquartered here and there were changes going on, and it took her like 45 minutes to get a job. It was just the fact that we'd spent so much time here and have so many close, friends and previous coworkers. And so and it has genuinely felt like it's coming back home, and to be closer to y'all, it's been exciting. Yeah, we're still renting right now, and we'll look to buy at some point in the next, hopefully later this year, first next year. And obviously
And you know where we want you to come.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like even you talking about the area, because we do genuinely love it. We do like Hoover too, and y'all loved Hoover, but like Trustful, I do spend a lot of time there, and so it's going to be heavily weighed for.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, we lived in Hoover. We were in Bluff Park.
Yeah.
And you can feel that small town there too, but you're really divided. If you're in Bluff Park, you're together. If you're in Green Valley, you're together. If you're, it was segmented. And I don't feel like there's as much segmentation here
Right.
As there is there. So.
And there definitely is a pride factor of being in Trustful, and has been for years. TJ, who started Home Fit with me originally, that's where they lived, and he said for years, like, get in here now because it's going to grow. And it's funny, you talked about being on the Chamber of Commerce. I need to follow up with you on that because I need to get Home Fit heavier, like much more heavier plugged in that area. So that's a whole other topic for that. Well, thank you for sharing those for sure. I was excited to hear kind of your strategy plan and the fact that and again, this wasn't really staged. These were just a couple of questions that we want to talk about. But the fact that you were able to have that overlap of, your application of things from SPOC into how it would translate into a bigger vision for Trustful and all the families there is a huge thing, is a huge deal. I think a lot of people that step into office they have great ambitions, but they don't really know of a good strategy. So then they have to lean on other people. And you already have strategies mapped out in place. So I'm excited to see that evolve. What's the time frame on when all this kind of comes to a head?
So the election is August 26th. So we've got a little bit of time, but because there's 2 mayoral candidates and they're vacating their seats in city council, it was a quick start. So actually they announced back in November, I believe. And so I announced February 14th, but my opponent actually announced before I did. I was still trying to make sure all my ducks were in a row. I don't like to jump 2 feet in and not have plans. So I had to make sure it was in alignment.
Yeah, makes sense. Which this kind of leads me to my next question, because I had like the work-life balance question in there, but as you can see, I kind of evolved this thing as it comes along. So we talked about how there's really no such true thing as work-life balance. It's more about how to just keep the plate spinning and how to allocate your time and how to make sure that your pulse is on even more so the people versus just the work. My question is, it's not a hard question, it's just a little bit different. I think you'll like it. Is what type of systems or tools or strategies have you found to be able to navigate all these different moving pieces? Because you ask me, and people ask me all the time, like, how do you do all the things that you do? And I mean, it's hard, and I have my systems and my tools and I talk about them. But yeah, what have you found that's worked for you?
It's funny that you asked that because I'm still trying to work that out to make sure that it works completely because family's first.
Yeah.
And so their schedules are highlighted pretty heavily on my calendar. Let's just put it that way. But I have an incredible support system, both at work and at home, and within the city as well. I mean, we all lean on each other, whether that be through the chamber or through the IDA or just people within the city. I'm not going to lie. I can't live without this. This is the calendar in this. If it's not right, I'm a little messed up. But my strategy is to focus as much time with my family as I can. When I'm at work, my focus is work. I am at work right now. I did make an exception to my 9:30 meeting with you, but I do focus on work when I'm here. And then the rest of that time, I know that my commitment to the city is wherever and whenever they need me. Right now, it's a little less than it probably will be in the future. But again, I have an incredible support system. My husband takes on responsibility for the kids when I can't be there. My parents step in when they need to. And again, here at work, I've got a great team that I work with. And all in all, they want to see me be successful. I want to see them be successful. And we do it as a team. It's lift up your team.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you've applied it, and I can tell we don't need to keep going because both of you will start crying. Yeah, I've learned both. I think we both learned each other's triggers.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And so anyway, so that's no, thanks for sharing that. I was just curious. Like I said, there's no true balance, but there's got to be systems in place and strategies to do it. And so no, that's
It may sound like a very discombobulated system, but it works for us. Like
exactly.
it's truly, you got to find what works for you. It's
Yeah.
not going to work for everybody.
One where a lot of people I think drop the ball is not allowing other people involved in that support. And I'm
You have
guilty
to
of it. I'm guilty of
give
it.
up some control.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult for me. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a little bit controlling. But seriously, is asking for help is it's key
Mhm.
to not losing it, honestly.
Well, and then also to because you get in your own way.
Yeah.
That's where I've found is like the more open I've been about what I'm struggling with or trying to find balance instead of keeping it on my shoulders. Like sometimes I can't see the solution because I'm in it, and
Yeah.
so there's people out there that know you better than you know yourself, or at least just as well as you know yourself. And so the fact that they can help pull that side of you out, that can overcome it, or
You got to get out of the weeds.
yeah, and know when to kind of relieve you of your burden so you can kind of regroup. And I think it is huge. And that's the thing. That's what people need. And that's what more people struggle with is like loneliness and not being able to willing to reach out. And like, so
Definitely.
the fact that your whole system is revolved around a support system, like it actually is a support system is huge.
Yeah.
All right.
And let me tell you also, you'll enjoy this. As long as I'm still getting up at 4:30 to go work out,
Yeah.
I'll keep it.
Right. It's true. It's so hard to do a lot of times, but it's, as we see, and I even do this myself, it's like you've got to have that energy boost and clarity comes from it.
Yeah,
If you
clarity.
don't, clarity
That's
as well.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It really gives you a clear picture of how your day's going to go.
Right. Yeah. And it also the burdens that are kind of weighing on before you before you get a good workout in or just become so much more less. And some say it's because that's the hardest thing that you're going to do that day physically
Yeah.
and sometimes mentally is that workout. And once you relieve that, that pressure, it's like, oh, everything else is just gravy. Just do what I'm supposed to do. Take care of
Yeah.
people.
Step by step.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, all that insight too, because that is a huge components of success and being able to get through the day to day. Okay, so we'll take just a couple minutes. I don't want to keep you much longer. This next one is kind of about for our listeners or viewers, anyone that's looking to advance in their careers or take out steps of starting their own thing, whatever format fits for you. Is there any advice that kind of sticks out from you from the steps that you've taken that you could give to those people?
So what I've actually done here at SPOC is, excuse me, one, for me, I recognized a gap. And the gap was that HR didn't exist here. And, you know, it's hard to bring someone in from the outside that's not lived out, our day to day, our everyday, and lived out our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that there aren't people out there, especially in HR, that do lift others up. But there's something about keeping it close to home and keeping those that are really part of um, that core group. I recognized a gap and I recognized I wanted to fill it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my own research. I've done my own reading. I've done my own, um, you know, we're working on some certifications and so on and so forth to grow this department. But I think really is what's beneficial for me is that what Spock does is offer development. And I think for us that the true aspect of making sure that your employees, one, are happy and that they want to stay here, but also two, are bettering themselves is to offer development, whether that is through college reimbursement or tuition reimbursement, whether that is so that they can go receive their degree in engineering or a tech degree, but also their certifications. I would not be able to do this with you if I had not had some public speaking courses that Bobby Mason actually was like, I think that you would excel in this. And I think that you just need to build your confidence here. So again, these development opportunities that you see or
Mm-hmm.
that you want to explore, a lot of times you'll have to do it on your own. But if you work for a company that's willing to
Mm.
invest in you,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, take full advantage of that because the investment in you makes you a better employee, but it also makes you happier and it makes you more powerful in a sense because you've got this opportunity to go and lead and teach. And oh, it's just, I mean, How empowering is that?
Yeah, it opens
I
up.
hope that answers your question.
No, it's perfect. I think it opens up so many doors. I think that really the bigger takeaway is like, just step out because you have a desire to, like, look for it, look for the avenues to be able to do it, and to be and there are a lot of companies out there that will support that movement. And some people are kind of afraid to bring it up or ask, or sometimes the companies don't do a good job of conveying that they have resources to support the movement. And so if you don't ask, you don't really get, is one thing I always say. It's what I say a
That's
lot.
right.
You don't ask, you
And
don't
guess
get.
what? The worst they can say is
No,
no.
that's how my dad
And
raised
they're not gonna sit back and go and talk about it afterward. I cannot believe Kimberly asked for this.
me. Yeah,
There's none of that.
right.
It's just no, it's either not the right time or maybe we've got something better for you. Yeah, I'll tell you, when I moved into this role, I got the opportunity to be a part of the Vistage group.
Yeah,
And
that's huge.
it has been a
That's a big deal.
huge opportunity for me. I have been able to network with some incredible people with some really useful knowledge, no matter what you know what no matter which way you lean, but they've been able to empower me as well in that group. So offering me that leadership opportunity and to build up my way of strategic thinking and then networking and then working with other companies to solve problems and do all that has been a huge opportunities for me as well. I know Bobby put me in that, but it was something that I really wanted to do. Luckily, he was thinking the same way as I was, so I didn't have to ask. But I would have definitely asked.
Funny. No, I think that makes sense, and to look for the gaps, like you said, and that's if it's somebody that's maybe, if hopefully there's plenty out there that are wanting to advance in their career setting and even at the positions that they're at, and those are avenues to definitely take. And I'm sure you'd be open for people even picking your brain on that kind of that strategy. But if it's somebody who, let's say, they're maybe want to step out and start their own business or their own side venture, so I know y'all have explored it, other people have explored it, just kind of giving the idea, but I think it's the same thing. You got to find the gap. It's like what problems can you solve, and then how can you make life work around it, and all those strategy systems around it. So I think that's perfect advice and something I haven't heard really much of from the other interviews that I've had. So awesome. Okay, so in the vein, and then we'll after this next question, we'll kind of jump into it's called rapid fire. It's not that rapid.
Fire.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. But this next one is about community engagement. I think it's a perfect question for you. And a lot of people, they do say, I want to get more involved in my community, but I don't really know where to start. Yeah, just kind of in general, if somebody's asking, if they're trying to get more plugged in, what's your advice to them as far as like where to even start getting more engaged?
So something that I think is very, very important, especially if you work in the community or your company, like you mentioned earlier, getting Home Fit involved in the Trustful Chamber, the
Yeah,
Trustful Area Chamber of Commerce. Honestly, we work with the surrounding cities, so Irondale would be included in that.
perfect.
Pinson, all of that would be included in the Trussville Area
Yeah,
Chamber of Commerce. But getting your company involved in that and being a part of that meeting, and when I say meeting, there's a luncheon that they do monthly, and there's probably a speaker of some sort, but it's an opportunity to network, volunteer your time there as well. That you can do multiple things. There's so many foundations here that are always looking for volunteers.
true.
Speaking of foundations, the school foundation is one that I think is incredible. They do so many amazing events, and it's to support our schools, which I think is tremendous. But there's so many ways. It's just you have to go and seek it. I can't say that it'll fall in your lap. I say follow these different associations and boards on Facebook. There's always asks and needs that they'll show you what their needs are. But network, ask around. And I know that sometimes that takes people out of their comfort zone, but if you truly want to be involved, I think that starting one at the Chamber of Commerce is the best place to do so.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't really know what they're like, and every chamber is a little bit different. But I know Trustfuls is strong. I know Mountain Brooks is strong, and there's a few that some people just show up. But at the same time, there are going to be groups within those communities that will definitely get plugged in. And it's funny we're talking about like organizations or groups, and that's honestly I can't believe I hadn't brought it up sooner. But that's how you and I initially met, was through the Multiple Sclerosis Society, the MS Society here, which now covers Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and have had opportunities to help grow that and get plugged in. And obviously, that's bigger citywide, Birmingham metro area.
But I'll say even that, like we've networked and met so many fantastic people. You, for one, are one of our great friends, and Melissa, and just being able to see those friendships and those relationships evolve, you couldn't ask for better.
Yeah, it's worth it. And that's the thing. As you're looking for groups to get plugged into, like start with where your heart is, start with whatever passion area. And yeah, it'll start to open up some doors faster than you realize. And you're helping a good cause, helping your community. No, I love it. I like how these questions have really kind of taken place today. All right, you ready for the rapid fire stuff?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. What's your favorite local spot in
My
Trussville?
favorite local spot. So I automatically have to say the Gateway,
Yeah.
simply because you usually get live music or some sort of entertainment. My kids can run around and play, and I can go eat at some fantastic restaurants. And I'm always, always, always going to run into somebody that I know. And
Yep.
I'm a talker, so I love that. And it gives me an opportunity to hang out, even when I was even.
Yeah. Yeah. Happens to us all the time. It's funny. Like we see y'all more there, I think, ourselves than even without planning it, which is
Yeah,
always a pleasant surprise. Good campaign spot for you, too. Just saying.
sure enough.
All right. So, a book or a resource that has significantly impacted your career. And I know you have a lot because Bobby shares books like
Yeah, but
breathing.
the number one book that comes to mind is Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
That one's huge for me.
We read it here as a team. We started off in the leadership team reading that book, and then we made it a company-wide book club. And I will tell you, Extreme Ownership is 100% what this place is. It really aligns well with Lift Up. It too speaks to that servant leadership as well. And I think that that's very, very important, especially when leading a company or leading a city. It really doesn't matter. You must be a servant leader.
Right. No, I'm glad you brought that one up. It brings me back a lot because having, other trainers and now starting to do some franchises on the home fit front. Real estate's a little bit different because it's all kind of on your shoulders anyway. But even when you have like constituents, there were a few years back, if something was to go not really awry, but if I can't figure out why somebody's not doing something I'm trying to help guide them to doing, I used to get so frustrated and try to point the finger. And now and Melissa actually saw this last night in real time. I was, kind of chatting with her about a situation that I was trying to find a good solution for. And she's a little more aggressive than I am. So she was just like, well, that's on them, and I was like, look, I said, a few years ago, I completely
I
would
would
have
have,
been down that road with
yeah,
you. But like
yeah.
now, and it's the more that I'm trying to mature, the older I'm getting, had a business for 12 years. I'm just like, the first thing I go to is what can I have done different? What do I need to do different before pointing the finger? And that goes such a long way. And when you do that and you go through that frame of, or that lens of that kind of filter, a lot of times you do kind of find the gaps. And
Yeah.
sorry, my screen's freezing up some, but yeah, you do find the gaps, and it's humbling. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask that question. What can I do different? But I guess since y'all have read that book and applied it, I'm sure it was a few years back. Like it seems like it resonates pretty heavily with you on the day to day as well.
It does, most definitely. And as my team continues to grow and we face some pretty difficult situations, whether that be employee based or, doing what's best for the company, I take ownership of it. I take ownership of every project we work on.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if I'm working in the weeds or not, it is my responsibility to guide my team, lead my team, and make sure my team is successful. And if we run into these hardships, I definitely want to make sure that we're working through those together. And I do take ownership of that.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. I highly recommend if somebody's if you haven't read that book, regardless of what scenario you're in, it definitely paints a different perspective of and the responsibility that you have, as an individual. And I like to use the word stewardship a lot. That was actually my word for last year after trying to start too many businesses and having to roll things back and getting stretched too thin. And like, that's a whole nother podcast, but
Cody, you're one person, just so you know.
which is why
Sometimes I have to remind myself of that.
why I need so many people around me to keep me in check. But yeah, it's definitely something that has, it's carried me through a lot of things. And, but yeah. So anyway, okay. All right. One piece of advice you'd give your younger self.
I must not have read that question.
Good.
Listen to your mom.
Oh,
Listen to your mom. Look, the way I look at it is, so my mother is obviously an immigrant. She came here from South Korea. She met my father. They married, and my mother is educated in Korea, not educated here. English is a second language. Guess what? English is really difficult to learn. But she's been an entrepreneur all my life. She's owned alterations businesses, dry cleaning businesses, clothing business, and been successful at all of them. And it's through pure, sheer drive. And anything that she told me, no matter how much I fought it, I realized, dadgummit, she was right. And nobody wants to hear that because nobody wants their parents to be right. They want to figure it out on their own and they want to test it as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
They want to make a big deal of every single little thing that they tell you to do. But guess what? Younger self, she's freaking right. And as much as I hate to admit it, she is the reason for my success because she was driven, she led by example.
Hmm.
And here I am.
Yeah. No, that says a lot. It's funny how you start getting to an age though where it's you go through those moments of like you don't want them to be right, like you're trying to figure it out on your own. But now we're getting older, and it's kind of like, just tell me,
It's
just
hard
tell me.
without.
Yeah, it's like just tell me because you're probably gonna be right. So let's just.
Yeah.
Why do I need to go kicking and screaming when you've already lived, a whole half life ahead of me? So I love that.
It's been a wild ride, but this whole time she was going, and she never will tell you, I told you so.
Yeah.
It's more of the, well, you had to figure it
Had to
out.
figure it out on your own. That's
You had to
worse.
figure it out on your own.
That's a
I
worse.
tried to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you I was right.
Yeah. That's a worse phrase. I'm just like, will y'all quit letting me figure this stuff out on my own? Like,
Seriously. But yeah, listen to my mom.
that's sage advice for sure. All right, two more, then we'll wrap up. Hidden talent or hobby that you enjoy, if you have time for one.
Hidden talent or hobby. So I'm less likely to have time, but I will tell you, I have really grown to love CrossFit. I know, and I did it when I was younger and I was much better at it and I was less achy. I get so much grief here at SPOC because I tend to tear my body up a little bit, but I love it. And it is a brain stabilizer. It's like a shot of adrenaline every time I go through there. And I will call it my hobby because that's really all the time I have for a hobby. It's 4:30 in the morning.
No, it's fair, and you do go after it. I saw you've competed in some different, events and whatnot. How would you, in that vein of like your local CrossFit community, I mean, how would you explain your group?
So I'm on the reboot side, which is less of the Olympic lifting, a little more cardio,
Yeah.
a lot of dumbbell work. Working out at 4:30, class starts at 5, but we get there about 4:45. We are a unique group of people because we are crazy enough to get up that early and go all out, but we're very supportive. We hold each other accountable. We also cheer each other on. And I think that that's something that you're looking for at a gym is that camaraderie and that drive to succeed, but also that cheerleading group, that group that just wants to push you because they know that you have it in you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that group. That's that group on both the CrossFit and the reboot side. I think it's end of the day, you're going, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And you've got people going, you're going to do this and you're going to do it great because you're a rock star.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look at you. You surrounded yourself by all kinds of groups of people that genuinely help lift you up. That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I was just kind of curious. I know y'all spend a lot of time with your group there and you make so many friends, and because when you're pouring yourself out like that physically, the emotion's going to come out too.
They definitely come out.
Plenty. Yeah. Yeah. At some
It's
point.
hard when you're in a church too, doing your workout right now because our gym burned down. But yes, you got to remember where you're located.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, Brian's always trying to get me to come out, so I'll come out. I need to come out this year for some
Yeah, you do.
workouts. It's a two-parted question, and then we'll wrap up. So, anything that you can do, or what's your go-to to unwind, and what's your go-to to recharge? Somebody asked me that a few years ago, and it kind of clicked different because most people will do like unwind, and it's like movie or whatever, but never recharge. So, unwind and recharge.
So my recharge is reboot.
Yeah,
is CrossFit.
makes sense.
And that's hands down
Right.
my recharge. That and my husband lets me sleep in on Saturday mornings, which is a
Huge.
glorious thing. Although I'll wake up like I've missed about a 3-hour stretch and I'm like, we've got so much to do. He really hates that part. But, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of time to unwind, and I'm not the biggest unwinder. But when I do get the opportunity, I like to sit down with Brian. I like to have a nice meal. I like to have a glass of wine and just relax. But again, there's not a whole lot of unwind time. If you had asked me before kids, I would have said I'd grab a book.
Right.
I'd sit down in a silent place and I'd read it. But unfortunately, I don't get that opportunity quite as much as I
Right.
used
That's
to.
why I asked
And fortunately, I say unfortunately, but fortunately,
yeah.
I don't get a lot of time for
As
that.
some people, the big trend now that I think Steve Harvey may have started it or some other people, but when people start a day and they're just like, I have to do this and have to do that. And the transition now is like, I get to do this. I get to do that. So that's a great way of phrasing it for sure. And that's why I asked the recharge, because I was like, unwind's going to be a hard question.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Well, I sincerely appreciate your time, your willingness to do this on a busy Monday to, share more about your story, what you've grown into, ways that you're trying to help, your local community and also all the people that's involved with SPOC and your work, and then ways to hopefully inspire some other people that are trying to step out, and take advancements in their career, whether it be internally where they're at or independently starting their own thing. There's so many ways of being able to do it. I guess to wrap up, or when it comes to yourself, SPOC, and or your campaign, where can people go to kind of support you in whatever venture you're going?
One, I will say I'm very well supported at SPOC, so I'm very appreciative of that, and at home as well. I would love more support in the area of my campaign, and that could be in many different ways. It could be just by spreading the word that I am running, and that you might believe that I'm a great candidate for it. Obviously, there's the financial piece. You can donate to my campaign as well, and you can do that on my website, farfortrustville.com. You can also follow me and share news on Facebook. So Kimberly Farr City Council Place 4 is my campaign Facebook page. And honestly, it's really just spreading the word and getting my name out there and recognized is the best way that I can be supported. And I appreciate any of it.
No, I love it. Like I said, it's all about, getting people to surround you, and the fact that you're going to give back to these people is huge. So anyway, yeah, thanks everybody for taking the time to listen and or watch this episode. Kimberly, thank you again for your time. We'll probably, like I said, might be good to do another one later down the road if you want to, about just more culture in a company. Maybe I'll snag you and Bobby both, which that would be.
I was about to say
I can't afford Bobby though.
We could be a free window here. No, I think I could convince Bobby to be on one of these.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
If it's talking about lift up, he's ready to spread the word. So
that's for sure. So, but anyway, thanks everybody for this time. Thank you for your time, and yeah, hopefully anybody that's listened or watched will share this, get some benefit out of it, and we will see everybody next time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.